Well, hello. I think yeah. Sorry, hi guys. Oh my gosh, there was a bit of a time lag just then. Welcome to this Thursday's Successfully Social. Very much with a thorn, I think, between two amazing roses. And I'm going to introduce you to the two roses in a second. But it gives me great pleasure to be able to welcome back the amazing Susan Winter. So a big round of applause for Susan. I'm trying to actually, yeah, Susan, great to see you. How are you? Lovely to see you. Looking fantastic as always. And I'm also joined by my inimitable sparring partner in crime, the wonderful Sandra Watson. So welcome, Sandra. It's great to see you as well. So hopefully you're both very well. Just before we invite Susan in, I just need to do a little bit of what we in the UK rather dully call housekeeping. Now, I'm probably looking for a sympathy vote. If you look very carefully, there's the merest little cut there. And the reason there is, and it's all down to Kirk Gerard and Jerk's Bike Shop, those of you that know Kirk. Kirk posted something on cycling today, and I was suitably inspired to get my mountain bike out. And as I was holding in my gut, puffing out my chest as I cycled past this amazing woman, and I was deeply attracted to her and just showing off my amazing physique, what I neglected to do was cycle properly and push the brakes, went arse over. I don't know what the appropriate metaphor would be, and sort of bit into my mouth. So I've been frantically trying to sort that out. So there we are. Anyway, that's me. Very much the thorn among two roses. But Susan, great to see you. How are you, Susan? We've not seen you since April, I think. Ah, there she is, Susan Winter, as I live and breathe. How are you, my dear?
Sean, thank you. Hi, how are you? And congratulations on your testimony for how much you want love. You had a love accident.
I had a love accident, and for those of you that are now dialed into the show late, you missed something quite amazing. So you're going to have to watch on the replay what a love accident is, and believe you me, you really want to know. It's all good. So yes, I did, Susan. Yes, and your good self. You're looking wonderful, can I say?
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
So how's life treated?
New York City.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying my new apartment and all of my friends here. It's wonderful.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And it's Susan, it's quite an amazing apartment, isn't it? Because I understand that you have things like film nights and all sorts of wonderful social things going on, which is amazing.
It's lovely. It's 2 blocks from my favorite gym, a block from my web designer and dear friend. We have all sorts of activities here. They've got a gymnasium. I really wanted to be in a very nice place so that when I'm here, I really feel that I have a quality of life, that I could invite somebody to my apartment. That I have that opportunity, you know. But it's great building, great people. Yeah.
Cool. So invite them rather than usher them in with a hood on the top of their head, so they didn't see the other people. Yeah, I can fully buy into that. Absolutely, that's cool. And Sandra, my dear, how are you, my love?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing really good. Had a good week so far. I can't say any. I am not going to complain about anything.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. Well, that's all good.
Oh,
so
and I am delighted to be here. Thank you.
Good. And as always, our telepathic exchange there. Sandra knew the question I was going to ask her even before I actually asked it, which is always a good thing. So, Susan, you came on last time in April, and for those of you that haven't met Susan before, hopefully you've seen a little bit about Susan's biography on the video trailer I put together. I'm going to ask Susan to share a little bit about that, but certainly when I first became aware of Susan on Twitter, I was really impressed with the magnitude of what she did. Clearly, she was an author, and she's written 2 amazing books. I also was aware that she is a contributing editor to the Huffington Post, written for the New York Times, London Times, and Cosmo, and also appeared on Oprah. So clearly, privileged to have Susan here as a real expert and a relationship expert to share some really interesting information. Now, Susan, before we invite you in to share a little bit about your current thinking and the purpose of this show, if you'd allow me to just share a quote, I kind of thought it encapsulated the whole purpose of the show here. So, you all come into this particular show, but just take a look at this for a minute. In fact, Sandra, I'm going to get you, if you would, I'm going to ask you to read this one out.
Sure. Why do smart, confident, and successful professionals become stupid when it comes to romance? Why is it that we throw away our known talents, experience, and skills in this particular arena of life?
Okay, and you know what, that is really, really interesting and perhaps a little controversial. So I know we've had some posts where people wholeheartedly say, yeah, that's me, or that describes a friend of mine, and other people who kind of say, I don't know. But Susan, this was an article, I think, that you published in the Huffington Post, and I'm right in thinking it had massive response, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think this is an important conversation we need to have. Listen, most of the adult population are there. Everybody's working, and women, we've ascended tremendously in our status, position, and in our careers. Now, the thing is, we're very good at what we do. And all day long, we can problem solve, we can analyze a situation, we are able to do critical thinking. And yet, in one aspect of our life, oftentimes, all that we know that's easy is thrown out of the window. I'm not suggesting a black or white scenario. So I'm not suggesting, oh, be ruthlessly intellectual. But I'm also saying, when you're emotional and heart-based, try to remember that you are capable of some critical thinking. It's so amazing that for 20 years I've found this to be quite interesting, and it wasn't until a group of things happened that I was prompted to write the article, and I think I really pulled it all together. Even in my own life, I would notice this. So I thought, why is it that we're capable on one platform of confronting a challenge, and we're able to come up with multiple solutions? Not one solution, not either or, stay, go, it's good or it's bad, but multiple solutions. And then if we transport the same issues to another platform, like our relationship, now we're completely lost and befuddled.
So I'm sorry, Susan, sorry, forgive me.
Yeah, so that's the premise of our discussion today. How can we have some sense of balance when we're looking at something in our romantic life that's confounding us, confusing us, we're having a difficulty? How can we incorporate what we already know? So I'm going to talk about some of the tools to do that today.
Yeah, I mean, I really love that, Susan, on a number of different levels, because we all know, and sometimes even intimately know, thinking of ourselves perhaps, of situations where you can be absolutely outstanding. I think that's what you're saying in certain aspects of your career, and have reached a tremendous pinnacle. And let's take what you're saying. Well, let's think of career women who are really, really successful. Although obviously this is not gender specific, and yet go to pieces, whether it's because of infatuation or blindness to issues, or we've just never discussed things properly. But we can go to pieces in areas that otherwise would be normally very rational in. It is quite a conundrum. Is it inevitable, Susan? You mentioned you've got tools, or is it something that people can begin to move forward on, do you think?
Of course. First of all, this discussion opens up the fact that love does not have to be a mystery. The reason, I think historically, sociologically, why we abdicate all sense of responsibility or problem solving with relationships in general is that we've been taught that love's a mystery.
Right.
We've been taught we don't know how it happens. It's like a cold. You catch it. You didn't mean to. It just happened to you.
I've caught a relationship.
Yeah, and especially you'll find people abdicate responsibility for having love be a choice. If it didn't work out well for them, they'll say, well, you can't control the person that you love. It just happens to you. So my take on that is attraction and chemistry. Those are still a mystery. Love is not a mystery. Love is the ability to surrender to a feeling that you're having. It's the willingness to let go. And people claim that love is not a choice, and I know that it is. There is, I don't care if it's a breath of a hair, there's a moment where you could always stop it. You know, people can force love to stop. Normally they put up a plexiglass boundary to all love. They can harden their heart. But love is, it's a release. It's an acceptance, an allowance, a surrender to the feeling you have. It may take a person 4 years of fighting with themselves to realize they desperately love this person. But there is some place within our chemistry, our mind, our heart, our soul, that moment where we say, We just let go and surrender to it. So it is a choice. Now, attraction, on the other hand, chemistry. Right. The reason you fell over on your bicycle today.
True. All true. And for those of you that missed it, you've got to watch the beginning, I'll tell you.
The thing that grabbed your attention, that is something that's still up for discussion. That's the mystery. You know, Dr. Helen Fisher, phenomenal biological anthropologist, wrote the book Anatomy of Love, and she's constantly doing fMRIs of people's brains to figure out why are we attracted to the person we're attracted to? Why do we love who we love? At one point, she thought it was scent-based. You know, the smell of a person would be the attraction. At another time, people think, you know, psychologists think it's an imprint from our family life, the family of origin. You know, daddy did this, mommy did that, a sexual imprint that makes you crave something else. You know, well, all these people go from different camps to figure out what it is. They can all, we can certainly say attraction is a mystery. Okay. But the ability to love and be in a happy relationship, that's not a mystery. There are certain steps you take to be in partnership, no different than if you're building a company.
Right. So this is really intriguing now. So what we're beginning to see is that love is kind of more of a choice, even though we don't always think it is because of poetry, literature, movies, and things like that. Actually, there is a choice dimension, but attraction is more chemistry-based. Now, I'm beginning to see some quotes, got my teeth in. I'm beginning to see some things coming up in the comment tracker. But before we go on to that, Sandra, what do you think? Love is a choice, so you can exert control. Attraction is more chemistry. What's your thinking on this?
Yeah, I think I was listening to what you were saying, Susan, and I'm thinking that you're saying probably the chemistry comes along first, and then you recognize that, and it eventually turns into a point where you recognize that there's a love factor, and it's your choice at that point to determine whether you want to pursue it any further.
True.
Am I right?
Yeah, because certainly we would want our romantic partner to inspire us to desire them. So when you're in the chemistry and the attraction mode, though that's a little fuzzy how we get there, at least once you get into, you can have sexual relations with somebody that's you crave, but you don't fall in love with them. So if you had the love
I can't believe that.
Right? I'm not asking you specifically, Sean, so you're not.
A few.
But you know, that can exist. So the point is, if you want to date, have a relationship with somebody, how can you use the things that you know to help to build your relationship and migrate the things that you understand in business? Because because attraction is confusing and it's a mystery, we throw attraction and love into the same package, and relationships and dating, and make the whole ball of wax a mystery. So we give up, I don't know what's going on, I can't figure it out, and we have emotions that confuse us. And so what I think is interesting is that for example, in our work life, if we are not having success with a certain product, or we're having a lack of communication with a client, we might have a number of novel ways to solve that problem. You'd be surprised how many people refuse to consider novel and different ways to solve a communication problem. It's screaming or silence. It's staying or leaving. In love, we tend to go to really distinct black and white polarized scenarios. I'm in, I'm out. It's great, it's terrible. And that you can't really work from those extremes. In business, we don't tend to do that. We keep trying different avenues to succeed, to get in good relations, in good partnership. For example, let's take the most primary thing. Let's say you want to enter a partnership. You've decided you want to date, and you want to date and meet somebody that's important to you. Do you know how many people start on that journey without ever knowing what they want, other than a very basic sentence like, yeah, I want to meet somebody nice and maybe get married and settle down? And that's somebody who's thought it through.
Yeah.
Most people, unfortunately, start dating, and they don't know what they want. You wouldn't start a company and not know what your product is, not know why you're doing it. So it sounds really rudimentary. We imagine everybody knows what they want to achieve at some point in their life in their partnership, but you'd be surprised, Sean, how many don't. They never think it through.
Yeah, I mean, I find that quite fascinating. It's almost as if, not just in business, but we, you know, and I'll hold my hand up here as well, but we might put more focus in terms of where we're going to go on vacation and what we're going to do on vacation.
Oh, you do all the detail on that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just for a moment, Susan, if you don't mind, because it's very pertinent to our conversation. I've got a really interesting comment I'm going to put on from L. Williams. I'm not sure what your first name would be, L, but we'll call you L, and nice to meet you. Thank you for putting this one up. Now, L's honest enough to say that she is a stupid dater, and she said, I am a stupid dater. Yep, I'm just putting it out there. One of the things I look for is someone who has many interests. That way, they understand that I have stuff to do too. The other problem is, from what I've been told by friends and family, I'm going to have to read this from off the tracker.
Okay.
What I've been told of by friends and family, I come off as intimidating. Now, this is interesting because this fits in with some of the character profiles you want to talk to us about later. I come off as intimidating. Honestly, I don't want a guy that's intimidated by me.
Right.
Should I dumb it down? Now, there's a question, Susan. What do you think?
Never. L, I'll call you L. Never be anything other than what you are. I'm so sorry. This is a huge conversation that we may want to do at a separate time. But successful, powerful alpha women are still being integrated into the consciousness of men. And it's not your duty to be less because they can't see you as more. All right? Never be less. Never bring yourself to be less because the person looking at you cannot see the totality of who you are. I used to describe myself like one of those remote controls. I knew. I had a great boyfriend, loving, faithful, kind, gorgeous, young, everything. He wanted on, off, and mute. That's it.
Okay, interesting.
And I kept thinking, but I got this really cool button. If you were at a black tie affair, I could do that. Or if you had somebody, I needed to meet them, or I needed to talk to one of your clients, and I couldn't. But it's not his fault. It's my fault in selection process. So to get back to you, you sound like a powerful woman. I mean, these are cliff notes. A student dater, you know what I'd say? You're not you're probably brilliant in what you do. And this is thank you so much for that comment. If you can start to look at your dating and romantic life like your new startup, what do you want to do? What do you want to create? What do you think would make you happy? Where do you want to go with it? Now remember, every decision you make is not concrete. Humans are fluid. There may be a point in life you're at the end of a divorce, you're just out of college, you just want to date. Be honest with your partner. I just want to date. I want to taste the smorgasbord of life. I'm not ready to settle down. Maybe someday. Be very honest. I want to have a good time. I want to date. I like to ski, run, see movies, eat pizza on Sunday, and watch, I don't know, the Raiders or something. That's for Barb, okay? The 49ers, whatever they are. So, you know, at least know where you want to go on that short journey. And if you have a big journey, get as clear as you can on what you want. That's your mission statement. You need to know that because you'll never know who's going to fit otherwise. So that's number one. Your mission statement. Know what you want to do even for now.
Okay. I know there's a lot more on that you're going to be sharing with us. By the way, it's Laura. So Laura's just posted. Laura, thank you, Laura. Really appreciate that. So what we're talking about here, Susan, is let's call them alpha females. Let's call that sort of situation. I'm not saying that is or isn't true of you, Laura, but generically we were talking about alpha females in the sense that this is somebody who's very competent professionally, but there may be challenges in terms of not in them, as you rightly say, but in the partner's perception of them. So that's kind of interesting. And then, as you rightly say, Susan, don't dumb it down, because after all, if you alter your behaviours to suit that person, ultimately that tension will always come out. Now, I'm going to talk to another alpha female for a moment by the name of Sandra. So Sandra, as we think about alpha females, without getting into any personal stuff, does that resonate with you? Have you seen this? Have you found people when you've managed businesses who've been in this sort of dilemma? In your view, is that quite common? And what have you found about it?
Well, I think, just the way that you term that, I love it, alpha females. I never thought of it like that, and that's a term I'm going to probably I'm going to attach that to my name now, because it's true, because people do become intimidated by strong women. Right. It's very true. And what I have found for myself throughout life is that a lot of times you try to dummy that down and it never works. Because then you're not yourself, and then you do attract the wrong kind of relationships, whether it's in business or love or whatever. And it's not going to work, because neither can be themselves then. And so you always have to be yourself. And the right relationship is there if you're giving out the right signals, I always believe. But that's something you have to learn, and I'm glad you brought it up, because we teach timid women to be less timid, but then therefore that in our minds would go over, okay, well then be less strong.
Yeah.
Well, and should we, and then my question would be, should we be teaching timid women to be less timid? I don't, that brings up another side of the coin then too. Are they really timid, or are they just not being themselves,
or playing a role, and what tensions does that create? And Susan, I know you've got so much on this. I can't resist just bringing in Laura's response to your previous comment, because she's obviously really appreciated your comment here. So what Laura's actually put. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I'm so glad you said that, Susan. I would much. That's the first thing. I would much rather. She goes on to say, I would much rather hang out with my cat, which is, love that one, Laura, very well said, then come off as someone, yeah, indeed, come off as someone less than I am. By the way, I still only have one cat. no cat lady. Oh, I love your humour, Laura, that's absolutely spot on. So, definite thumbs up and round of applause from Laura there. But thinking about what the points Laura's raised, what you said earlier, Susan, what Sandra's just said, and the tensions that can be created, not just in any woman in the relationship, but it reflects in the man as well. So the man's behaviour will start changing, and then things can deteriorate. What are you seeing? What sort of things are happening when you're coaching that sort of couple?
This is a kind of a side discussion, but it's an enormous discussion. It is the integration of powerful women and men as they continue to work. Now, some of the younger generations, millennials, they've grown up with this, so that's normal to them.
Right.
People maybe 40 and older, this is completely different, and they're not accustomed to not... listen, everybody wants to be... The feeling is that if you need me, you're going to stay with me.
Right.
So imagine when the role of man is, gee, I can't offer you that home, you already have one. I can't buy you that car, you've got two. I can't, you have, I don't know, free passes to the opening premieres because you work in the film industry. Men start to lose their way as to who they can be for us. Okay. So it's a big discussion on how we can continue to live our lives as women and create the kind of life that is meaningful to us and still be in partnership and have our man feel valuable to us in the ways that we need, which now it's not economic, which it was for all of the centuries previously, but now it's in terms of who you are to me and what you bring to my life and what we create together. So oftentimes when a couple is creating something together in their life, whether they're building a dream or building a family or building a business together, you'll find that that's less stressful. The differences are less because they're together doing the same thing. They've got their combined talents.
Right.
And by the way, you would have figured that out if it had been a client or your product.
Yes, of course you would.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just that when we put it on the template of love, we really go blind. If we took the same problem and put it in our current business, we would have found the answer.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was just going to ask you, is that because the emotional attachment is so heightened, where in business we do put the emotions down a lot easier, and then when you get into that love relationship, the emotions are always right there, we're always trying to find a way to play with those. And so what you're saying is if you treat it like the business side, what would you do at work if you had the same situation? Would you put the emotion aside, and would you look at it differently? Because I think that's what happens too often is...
Okay, first of all, relationships are emotional. And I want to reframe what you're saying,
Okay.
so that I can be very, very clear about what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting you treat your romantic life as a business.
No, I
In
understand.
moments of confusion, if you can't see your way to a solution or you're experiencing a roadblock, think if that were your business, because that opens up your creative, your critical thinking. You see, we're taught to be stupid in love. We're taught that we don't know, and that it just happens, and maybe it's good. Some people are lucky, others aren't. We're taught these things. So listen, if I wanted to learn to play tennis, and I really wanted to play tennis, I'd take some lessons, right?
You would.
Right? If I want to be in a relationship, how many people do you think take a weekend course on how to be good in a relationship?
Very
Really?
few.
Right. Why is this?
That's a very good point.
Magic. Because we've been taught. I look into your eyes, and it's wonderful. It's reality. I look into your eyes. I love the last line of every movie. And they live happily ever
after.
They have to stop there, because the moment the couple is so happy and they're reunited, then life starts. He didn't take out the trash. Somebody forgot to pay the insurance bill. So we've been taught that we are confused, and love is confusing. And also what you said too, Sandra, romantic love is complex. It's tapping into all of our internal programming, our automatic responses from our childhood, our own wounds. You've got a double layer, which begs even more for moments of clarity to think outside the box for creative solutions.
Yeah, and that that's a really lovely way you put that, Susan, because my understanding of what you've just said, so feel free to correct me if I've got it wrong, is you're not advocating that people treat a relationship, a romantic relationship, a sexual relationship as a business. What you're saying is put yourself in the resourceful state that you would do as a business owner at that moment when you'd otherwise have conflict. And then thinking of that potential conflict in a more resourceful way is going to give you better solutions. That's kind of what I'm hearing, Susan. Is that right? Have I heard you correctly?
Spot on.
Oh, my dear. Oh, fantastic. I rehearsed that well.
The male ego was just fed.
Yeah, but the male was absolutely correct.
Oh, I'm feeling good.
Exactly what I'm saying.
I'm feeling so good now. I'm feeling so good.
Love should not be blind emotion running you, trampling over you so that you can't even enjoy being in love. And I'm not suggesting that you treat your love cold. I have many examples of females that I know that treat their love like a business, and it's dying. It's being strangled. They're micromanaging their men. They're so much the alpha male that the man has no place to make a contribution. Everything they do is, no, that's not important. You're annoying. No, I don't want you here. Don't come that weekend. They don't even know how to leave their work to come home and be in relationships. So you have examples so today we've got examples where you don't incorporate what you know in problem solving and solution and communication as you would in work. You also have people that overdo that and don't know how to come home and be in a relationship. They're on work duty 24/7. They begin to handle their mates as though they're an employee.
Actually, Susan, I was absolutely blown over when you and I had a chat earlier, well, probably last week, and you were sharing with me some of the different types of, I would use the word archetype, but some of the different characteristics of these different dysfunctional relationships. And I kind of thought I'd gotten it until I talked to you. And actually, of the 6 or 7 different scenarios you shared with me, I'd only thought of 1 or 2. So is this the right time to explore some of those now? Do you want to do that?
That's great. They're good examples of underusing our professional knowledge in love and overusing. Yes.
Yeah. So how? I mean, I understand the words, obviously, and I kind of understand the context. But you, as a relationship expert, what are you noticing if someone comes in overusing and they're let's say overly alpha female? I think we've kind of nailed that one. if someone's underusing, then potentially they're overly passive. Are there the same sort of tensions, or do different tensions result as a result of those different scenarios? Does that even make sense?
Good question. Okay, all right, let me think. I love it when you ask me things right on that I never considered. Underusing,
right?
What we know professionally, as far as problem solving, communication skills, seeing the big picture, having a focus, having a goal, staying committed and staying in it. People who don't use their professional skills tend to be confused.
Okay, cool.
Frustrated and dismayed. They don't know what's going on, and they don't know why they're getting this negative feeling.
Right.
People who overuse their professional skills and micromanage their partners tend to kill. They squeeze the love out of the relationship until the partner who is so desperate to love them is so exhausted being told what to do and told what they're not doing and corrected and that they actually kill. They squeeze the love out, and they are alone. And then they think they just had a bad partner.
Right. Okay. And do these, Sandra, I know you got a question. Can I pull you in a second? Just being a short-memoried guy as I am, do these things shift? So let's say partner A is the more controlling one, and partner B is the one that's more resentful. I'm guessing, and kind of what I've noticed in my experience is that's not always set in stone, and sometimes partner B then, as a response, overcompensates.
True.
And partner A goes the other way. So again, and I don't know if that's the sort of direction you were going to go with your question, Sandra, but is it? Can I just ask?
Sure.
Yeah, can I just ask that one first, Susan? What does that shift happen quite a lot, or?
Well, it's good. Actually, the pendulum swinging is a natural form of correction.
Yeah.
When we go from one extreme to another, like weak boundaries, okay, I'm going to firm up my boundaries, but you want it to eventually go back to a moderate place. But when partners start switching, when I see changes in the relationship and they start switching roles, you know what I think? I don't think this is weird. I think, oh, thank God something's happening. Something's.
Okay.
They're not in the same rut. Maybe because sometimes if you're standing in the other person's shoes, if you were the irresponsible child in the relationship, and now you have to be the resourceful adult, at least you get to see what it was like for them to have to manage you, and you get to see what the burden of being an adult. So sometimes you get to see the other person's viewpoint. So that's a good thing.
So actually what's happening there is, rather than it be a static relationship where there are real dangers in that, because generally speaking, if something's static, it can only go one way, and that's generally down.
It just is frozen. Yeah.
Yeah. You actually think that the swapping, the pendulum swinging, is a good thing, because at least it shows that there's some dynamic element to the relationship, which is good.
Oh. And then we pray that there's some awareness that it's going on. Not that both people are suffering from severe schizophrenia. You need awareness.
Okay, and
okay.
Sorry, I cut Sandra off before, and that's really timely. So Sandra, you did have a question. My apologies. What were you thinking previously, Sandra?
Well, the one thing that you were talking about, as far as the professional that squeezes out because they come home or they're in this relationship and they're dating, and they're basically in charge. What happens when you have two alphas, alpha male, alpha female? And they're both squeezing.
Okay, well, Sandra, I'm going to have to tell you, I don't know yet.
Okay.
Really honest with you? This is the first time in history that we have this happening en masse.
Right.
And the verdict is out. I mean, I don't know. Or the jury is out, whatever you say. I know we will come to our own finding of that, but it's very new. It's new. Okay, categories. Here's what I'd suggest. Everybody's got to have a category where they win. I had a boyfriend who insisted upon driving my car because it was snowing. Okay, young man. And we were picking up my girlfriend. He said, no, Susan, let me drive. I said, Regis, I grew up in Minnesota with like 9 feet of snow from October to May. He goes, no, let me drive. I know how to drive. I finally said, forget it, I'm going to drive. And he goes, can't I have one category? Can't you just give me driving in the snow?
That's
So
nice.
what I'm saying is, when you've got two alphas, split the jobs.
Right.
My
That's
girlfriend's
good.
involved. Split the jobs up. My girlfriend's an alpha female in business with an alpha male. She's kind of directed him more to doing the construction of their facility, and she handles the paperwork and hiring and billing. She has him walking around doing manly things to get out of her way, so they're not both playing CEO. So they have slightly different categories, so that's how they've worked it out.
Nice. And this maybe bring us full circle, but you did say about 10 minutes ago, you spoke about mission statements,
Yeah.
Susan. So would that arrangement be an example of a well thought through mission statement in your mind, or is it something else?
It is that the mission statement is number one. We're creating a relationship. We're two strong people. Here's what we want our vision to look like. Then, like you would in any contract, and I'm not saying it's that cold, you'd have sub-clauses. You know
Right.
what? Let's try this. What if I take this aspect? I like this, and you handle this, and we get back to each other. And you have a trial period. Nothing's set in stone. You try for your balance so that
Okay.
everybody feels vital. See, alphas are so used to doing it by themselves, and alphas, I think, end up being alphas because nobody else was going to do it. You just get tired of it not getting done. Am I
Right.
right? I didn't mean to be an alpha. I just got so tired of nobody doing it, I just had to do it myself. So when you find a partnership where somebody will have your back, that's the greatest thing about two alphas. There are times when, you're just tired. You're overwhelmed. How cool to be able to turn to a fully effective, efficient, up-and-running person that has your back, Sandra, if you want to abdicate some effort and just lie down or take a trip with your girlfriends or something, how great would that be that somebody else is fully in charge? So yes, detail what you want to do, work out who's going to do what. Let everybody have a category that makes them feel worthy in the goal that you're creating in your relationship.
Okay. Another thing that I found really instructive in our discussion, Susan, when we spoke a couple of days ago, was you did speak a little bit about something that happens to a lot of people, which is a bit like Groundhog Day, where actually these crises don't just replay out once, but they happen time and time and time and time again, and that person goes through a string of relationships, basically repeating exactly the same thing that they've always done. And you're obviously laughing because you obviously see that quite a lot, and I've seen it, and I think we all can resonate with that. So what sort of tools can you use there? Are those people irredeemably stuck, or are there things we can do to shake up their thinking?
See, I think the universe is always trying to help us. The perfect example of this is the guy who complained to me for 45 minutes about his bad love life. At the very end, he goes, and they were all three named Stephanie.
I love that.
Okay, and so I'm thinking, dude, the universe is tap, tap, tap. I mean, can we make it any clearer? Okay, you're doing a repeat. I call it same partner, different package, or something like that. So, Sean, that's where you're not going back and forth. That's where you're in your own cycle.
Right.
So, okay, say you're stagnating at work.
Mm-hmm.
You'd rethink your moves. You'd think, why is my product not moving forward? Why is this failing? Am I missing something I'm seeing all the time, and I've failed to see it because I keep seeing it? You have to go away, get some fresh eyes, look at it. I mean, awareness is the key to building any great relationship. Awareness and novel problem solving. Don't just do what your relatives and your friends tell you to do. I mean, think creatively and try with your partner, or try different things. If you're attracting one kind of person all the time, try another venue. Try another person. Try another type.
Sandra's probably got something. Again, I always look at your expression there, Sandra. I know you're poised to ask the killer question, which is awesome. But of course, I always come in and just stop you doing that for a moment. So my apologies. But I'm kind of thinking, there's always resistance in any form of coaching, isn't there? So there'd be some people that you would share that with who will say, I've got it, I suddenly understand. There are reasons for this, and I'm really open, Susan, to what you're saying. But do you find, particularly because of the emotion attached to relationships, do you come across a lot of resistance, even when you lay this out in front of people? And if so, how do you help people through that resistance? So they kind of get they want to do they need to do something, but by God, they're not going to do it.
If it's a human being, I don't offer my opinion unless they ask me, unless I feel truly urged to do it.
Okay.
If it's a dear friend, even then I'm very conscious because I know that what I say will impact them, and it may not be my business unless I feel it's come to that point. In a client, you've already come to me. You want to know. I'm going to tell you what I see. But the way to make them not resistant is to not make them feel bad or wrong for where they are.
Very good point.
We are where we are. And the same thing is you can be super successful in your dating life or you're in your relationship with your work and maybe be a little confused in your dating life. Doesn't mean you're a bad or wrong person.
No.
So I can't make anybody do anything, and I'll tell them I'll praise them on what I think is forward movement. I'll tell them the decision is theirs. I would love to see you do this, and I'm just not going to beat them over the head. Not my job.
No, and that's a great distinction, and we're not saying that people are broken. That's not the point of this, is it? It's just into your role is very much that of facilitator, Susan, maybe helping them. This is how I see your role anyway, helping them see something objectively, but you're not there to give them solutions or tell them what to do. So I think that's really great.
I do give them other options.
Right.
All I need to know is their mission statement. What do they want to achieve here?
Sure.
I'll see what they're doing, and I'll say, here's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force them to do it. Here's what I say. Here's what I'd suggest, given you what you've told me. But so that's one-on-one. But as far as the relationships in general and our professional life and our personal life, I have to remind you that there are lots of people, millions, who find their way to loving, committed partnership all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was not that difficult when you ask them how they did it. They normally have kind of bland answers.
Yes.
But they will tell you this. I knew what I wanted.
Right.
And basically, I found someone who wanted what I wanted with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
So there are tools that we would do if we start any business endeavor or any kind of employment. We would know how to do it. So we can apply those basics to our relationships as well. You've got to know what you want at any given time.
Yeah.
Have creative, flexible problem-solving solutions where you're not rigid in, well, he did this, so that means I've got to do that. He's ignoring me, so I won't call him back. Really creative. Think outside the box. Put it in another context. And keep open to revision and reinvention.
Yes.
Look for input. Some of these things are very important.
And actually very parallel to business, aren't they? Know your outcomes, take steps to get to your outcomes. If things interfere with the outcomes, do different things along the way. And I think that's really key for me. Sandra, I'd like to invite you in. Given what Susan's just said, what are your thoughts, Sandra?
Well, my thought is that when you start a business, I mean, you've used that analogy, Susan, you have a passion for it. You have a passion to see it succeed.
Yeah.
You have a passion that nothing's going to stop you from getting what you want, basically. You're going to do whatever it takes to arrive there. And I'm wondering, in the relationship part that you're talking about, if that isn't really something that has to be there. Sure, we're talking about attraction, but then there has to be the passion for wanting success.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so you're talking, the equivalent would be a committed partnership where you have the goal of joining lives.
Well, and I think even starting out, yeah, because that's part of, I would see that as part of my mission statement if that were the case, is that when I find that one thing that turns on my passion, which would be equivalent maybe to the attraction, then I am going to do what I'm going to bring in the things. Like when I start a business, I have to get this, I have to get this, I have to do this, I have to do this, in order to at least give it a trial to succeed, because there are many businesses that don't succeed within the first year. We know that. So if a relationship fails within the first year, that doesn't mean anything. It just means it wasn't the right passion, perhaps, and I'm going to go on till I find the right passion, and then it will work, and go forward like that. I don't know. I'm just seeing the similarities there a little bit.
Okay, Sandra, thank you, because that is absolutely brilliant. And because it's an important conversation. I believe, from my observation, that we are under the social myth that when I look into your eyes and fall in love with you, I'll have a natural drive and it'll happen effortlessly. That everything just happens. You wouldn't think that in business and survive.
No.
In business,
No.
right?
Very true.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So exactly what you said. Those individuals who have drive and passion, I want a loving, committed relationship with a person that adds quality to my life and I add quality to theirs. I can lean back, they can lean back on me. We're a great team. We're better together than single people apart. That's what I want. And when you have that commitment and that passion and that drive and that clear-minded focus, you will meet success. You will. But how many people go at it like that? I love this thing in dating in New York City. So I'll just ask them. I don't care what the rules are. So what are you looking for? I'll know it when I see it. I'm going with the flow. I'm thinking, going with the flow? You've got no idea. Going with the flow could be circles in the river. It could be downstream, upstream. It could be on a rock. You are not somebody that has any, skill set for being in a relationship. So, thank you, Sandra. That is a beautiful example of mission statement.
Well, you just brought up another thing, too. When you think about it, you're in no position to be in a relationship. There are times when I am in no position to start a business, to be in that business. So it really is the same. We have to figure that out then. Am I at the point that I should be starting this venture?
The trouble is, I guess, that people will separate those elements out because there's the relationship needs, there's the sexual needs, there's the emotional needs, there's the not wanting to be lonely need, which is a negative. I don't want this, but I'd rather have this than that because that's even worse sort of situation. So no wonder then that there are some of these conflicts, perhaps.
I am a big fan of timeouts. Big fan. A big fan of when you end a relationship, taking a big breath. I don't care how long it is for you, to reassess, regroup, or if you've been riding the arc of a certain formula that worked, and then the whole industry drops out from underneath you. Or meaning, what would happen if what worked for me, the prototype of men that I enjoyed, worked for me, and then it no longer works. Now I need some time out to let the pendulum come to a new set point. You can't just do it in 2 weeks and go, okay, well, I guess that type is out. Worked for 20 years, now I don't want it. So, I'm going to go for this guy. There's nothing inside me that's ready any more than taking out a loan for $20 from the bank going, here I go on my new project. So timeouts are important to reassess, where am I ready for it? What do I want to do? What do I need to do now? What do I need to do to prepare myself to be ready for the journey I want to take?
Yeah, I mean that for me is a golden nugget, and too often, whether it's perceived pressure from society or whatever it may be, or just people's physical and emotional needs, too often I think you're absolutely right, Susan. People will rush in and they haven't even evaluated what was the problem in the previous relationship, so no wonder they repeat the same errors. Just on that point, I mean. Laura, bless her, has put a number of really good comments in here, and I just want to bring in one or two of them. I'm going to go back a little bit because I did like this comment. It does take us a little bit back in terms of the conversation, but Laura identifies a situation where obviously it's an empowered, well, let's read rather than paraphrase Laura, let's read what she actually said. Wow, that's it. I've been a single parent forever and I've run several businesses. I always relied on me. I have a terrible time handing over the reins to anyone. So I think I'm guessing what Laura was referring to is when we spoke about alpha female, you've got someone here who's obviously really successful in the business. So you did mind Rita really well there, Susan. And obviously the downside of that, or not the downside because I'm putting a label on it, that's my label, it's not appropriate. But a flip side, that's a better way of putting it. A flip side might be that sort of person sometimes finds it very difficult to hand over the reins. So that's interesting.
Here's what I'd say to Laura. You don't need to hand over the whole reins. But why don't you find areas in which you might feel comfortable beginning this journey of learning to enter into partnership and give. Where would you feel comfortable having a man come into your life, or a woman, whatever a partner come into your life? So that's little by little we have to learn. A single mom, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a woman that has had to be an alpha female, okay? Whether you were born one, you have to be one. And it is hard to let somebody into your life because you've got a lot of concerns going on. I'd never suggest being less than you know yourself to be and take care of your children and do what's right. Maybe the time is to do some casual dating, but with a focus of the quality of man you are interested in, and be very comfortable in writing that in your profile. Or whomever your friends are. Say, you know, I'd like to just go to coffee with a guy, be in a man's company, see if I like him, go to the beach. I bet taking away for the interests probably is fun time, play. I need to play. I've been mommy for a really long time and I run a business. I need to play.
Yeah, and the way you capture that, Susan, is really wonderful because it's open, it's upfront, it acknowledges the emotional needs, and it's also very, very honest, so that a person coming into that from the other side would hopefully understand your agenda and where you're coming from. Beautiful way of putting it, Susan. Thanks for that. I'm just going to change the tone for a minute, and then we'll come back to a lot of this good stuff. But we also did some preparation for one of the traditions of this show, otherwise known as Smash and Trash. And I know everyone's really eager. There'll be some of you watching this thinking, what on earth is Smash and Trash, and what has that got to do with relationships? So let me just, by way of a quick illustration, it is Smash and Trash.
Okay.
And the little figure there with his gold Kirk tunic is obviously me. So welcome to Smash and Trash. And the whole idea of this is that it just gives us a little bit of a pause for a moment. The Smash is, I ask everybody every single week, what is it that has absolutely rocked their world this week, whatever it may be, in entertainment, in sport, in terms of their business, whatever it may be. And the trash is that little thing that's maybe been a bit of a niggle or hasn't gone as well as they would have liked it to do. And we're not talking about earth-shattering stuff here, but it's just always really, really revealing. So, Susan, you're looking absolutely ecstatic that I'm about to come to you with a request for your Smash and Trash.
Give me first.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
You ready for? And we'll start with the trash, Susan, if we could.
Oh, a trash! Please don't use LinkedIn like getadatetonight.com. Please, you guys, please just stay to business. Don't we have one place where we're safe?
Oh, I love it.
My God. And I'm an old broad. Imagine my young girlfriends, what they're going through. One place. Please, LinkedIn is not a dating site. Okay. Now, do I do the Smash?
Well, I've just got to say,
so
anybody on LinkedIn that keeps pestering Susan, you've got me and Sandra to answer to, so stop it now. Stop it now. So let's have the Smash. So what's been really, really good in your world then, Susan?
Oh, I'm so excited that I got a corner dressed for this.
I love it.
This was the focus of my week. Otherwise, it'd be a white wall with a chair in the corner. We do not have a lot of depth selection in our apartments in New York City, especially new ones with white walls. I am thrilled that I got some color in here, and it looks a little bit better than it did when I started. So that's I'm easy to please. What can I say?
A definite smash. We absolutely adore your background. You've only just moved in, Susan. So I think actually I do think that's a round of applause. That was really, really cool. So I'm rubbish at doing the applause on here. So you just have to have a real heartfelt one.
Oh, and I love that. I love that. I want to keep that. That part was my smash.
That's your smash. We're loving that. We're loving that. Sandra, you've got some amazing smashes and trashes. You always do. So what is it this week for you, my dear?
Oh gosh. Okay. My trash was, I had been explaining beforehand, I had just finished having all my carpets cleaned and my grandkids showed up at the door and I fixed them breakfast. French toast with lots of ooey gooey, oh, what do you call it? Gosh, no, ooey gooey
It was so gooey you can't remember what it was.
Yeah, well, it was the what do you put on it?
Syrup.
Thank you, syrup. The syrup, the ooey gooey syrup. There was lots of it on the plate, and my grandson stood up to show me that he had finished all of his breakfast. He was really happy, and the plate flipped over, and all of the ooey gooey stuff was on the carpet. And then I said, well, maybe you should clean it up, and he didn't, and I tried to clean up. I just made more of a mess, so it was a pretty big trash.
Literally.
But
Literally.
the smashes, I'm not going to go into my other smash because it's like I said afterwards, the smashes, we didn't get frustrated, we didn't get upset, we just took it as an occasional bump in the road, and he went on watching television. I went and got the stuff to clean it up, and within 10 minutes everything was back to normal. So it was a trash and it was a smash because my grandson thinks I'm great.
Superb stuff. We love that. Absolutely brilliant.
So there you go.
Oh, oh, that's my favorite part of the whole show.
Well,
and I can perform that.
Okay. I'm going to do my trash first. My trash. Many of you that are watching will be aware of the infamous Kirk Gerard and Jerk's Bike Shop, and this is a smash as well because it's a little bit silly and it's a little bit funny. And for those of you that missed the beginning of the show, it explains why I'm sitting here, not because I'm appalling in terms of eating my food. There's a little mark of what happened to me, but because I went out having seen Kirk Gerard's post on a bike, where he posted an image of a bike today. Dusted off my mountain bike. I thought, well, I'm putting on a few pounds at the moment. Time to get out there, puff my chest up. It's a lovely day outside. Thought I was looking good with all. I don't want to shock you here, but I had all the best lycra on. God, what an awful image that is. Absolutely shocking, isn't it? So there I was, puffing my chest out. And funnily enough, it's a relationship discussion we're having now, but I was observing the scenery, shall we say, as I puffed my chest out, and I neglected to look properly where I was going. Went straight over the front of the handlebars, and this was just before the US soccer team were playing Germany, which I really wanted to watch as well. So it was a double trash. I wanted to watch the soccer. So I had about half an hour before the soccer game. Luckily, there's only a little mark here, but where I was scraping. I'm a guy, you know what? This was a dreadful thing. I should have gone to ER and had 30 stitches. You know, it was that bad. But I managed to mop myself up. So a little bit of a trash, a little bit of a smash, because this vision that was walking past me as I hurled myself over the front of the mountain bike was less than impressed with what I was doing. A definite trash, I would say. But my smash. Thank you for that. My smash. I love movies, and I'm a big fan of fun movies like The Hunger Games. And I was just looking through my YouTube channel today, just trying to sort my YouTube channel out, and I blundered into a new video 5 months before the new Hunger Games film is going to be released in November. They've just released a trailer, 90-second trailer with Donald Sutherland looking his inimitable self. Giving a speech, and it's a real taster for the next Hunger Games. And this sort of thing really excites me. I'm a bit of a movie freak, so that was a real smash for me. That I discovered something 5 months before release, if you like. So it actually compensated for missing the beginning of the US soccer game. And I guess commiserations to you guys as well, because I think the US team did a fantastic job, and you should have been there. So you should feel well proud of what happened. So that's me. Never want to take 1 minute when 17 minutes. Short and sweet, as they say. But Susan, coming back to all of the good things you were sharing, and conscious of the fact we're sort of in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the show, have we covered? There's so much that you do, and so many good things that you can always cover. Have we begun to scratch the surface of what you would have liked to put across, or are there some key things that you want to just touch on at the moment?
I think we discussed most of what I want to say. The fun thing about interviews is you never know where they're going. Indeed. And that's why they're wonderful. You can have all this material planned to present, you end up going in another direction. So I believe that they always go in the direction they're meant to go in. But I'm glad that people had a chance to realize that their relationships don't have to be so confusing. At the very end of this article, as a matter of fact, I said, love is not a mystery.
Right.
Love is the mastery of all that we know.
Nice.
Meaning, let's not isolate love to the land of, I don't know, it's weird, it's over there, I don't know, I might impale myself on rocks, I might be successful. Let's look at love like, okay, it's emotional, it's a roller coaster, but I can do a few things. I can figure out what I want. I can figure out who I'm going to be there. The best me, myself, authentic. That's for Laura and everybody else. I can recalibrate. I can let somebody in. I can readjust. I can test my product, see if I'm liking where I'm going. I can look for novel solutions. And thank you, Sandra, on this, that you know, maybe I wouldn't normally consider. Am I ready to be in a relationship? Is it the right time for me? Do I have a passion and love for it, as Sandra brought up? Am I committed to doing it? You know, when you apply some of those simple things that we do every day in business, you'd be surprised how much more rewarding and how much more joyous the dating and mating experience is. It just is. And so let's not lose the talents and skills we have.
Yeah, I mean, that's so good, because I can almost imagine people either watching now who've been in some of the scenarios we've talked about, or people watching the replay. I can almost imagine at the point we've just gotten to, their shoulders will go down and they'll relax a little bit, because what you're saying is enjoy all the emotion and all the good stuff of love, but let's not lose sight of the fact it's not over there. It's not being done to us. It's not something that we've been chucked into the river and we'll float where the river will take us. We actually have some control here, and we can exert some control. And once we realise that, then we can enjoy all the good things, but still have the facility to shape it as well. And that's very liberating, isn't it?
Absolutely. The minute we take it out of something for which we have no control and realize there are some tangible skills we're using all day long, list making. How many people go to the grocery store? You can't figure out what you want, the top 5 things you need in a relationship? I mean, come on. That's crazy, right?
Lovely. I love that. Yeah, would you go to a grocery store with no idea, just randomly hitting the shelves? Of course you would.
Yeah. I'll know it when I see it. Oh, I like the red jar. Oh, it's jalapenos. No, I think I'll try it. I'm going with the flow. I'm going to take the jar of jalapenos. What is up with that, right?
What a lovely analogy. And I'm shuffling a little nervously as I look at the jalapenos just by the settee here. But you know, that's another story. So I won't go any further with that. But I do love that. That's absolutely super. So, Sandra, let me bring you in here. So again, you've been nodding thoughtfully. Think again. What resonates with you?
Well, you know, when I shared this event earlier, I think it was yesterday, I said, you may not be looking for a dating relationship, but you may find some hidden gems here anyway, because it's about relationships. And I think that what you were talking about so involves anybody. Because we're always in a relationship. But let's talk about, you know, an emotional one that has passion, that has love and everything. I think so much of what you said was so great for people that are not in the dating scene, but just trying to improve their relationships. These things apply then as well as trying to find a relationship. They're ubiquitous to each other.
Yeah, I think the point is we have tools we're not even using. So we can make our lives a lot easier, and our interpersonal relationships work a lot more wonderfully if we just use some of the skills we already have.
And Susan, as always, you know, what I particularly love about you is you share great wisdom with great humour, and that doesn't always happen, that blend. Sometimes you get one and not the other, and I adore that in you. And I was kind of smiling and giggling to myself while both of you were talking, because I was thinking of some of the analogies, and I'll remember that jalapeno pepper one for quite a long time. I went out to cook chicken dinner, and I ended up buying hot dogs and jalapenos. Christ knows how that happened. Sorry, forgive me for the word there, but it is what we do in relationships, and it's so silly, isn't it? When you stop and think about it, take some time. Yeah, it's
the disconnect. Somehow, when you mention romance, dating, love, it's as though this like plexiglass of stupidity comes up, and we become brain dead. We can't analyze the situation. We don't know where we're going. We don't know I mean, how did that happen? I don't know. I don't know how that happened to so many of us. I imagine it must be some cultural influence. It's more than emotions. Listen, they're passionate professions, okay? You can have a professional golfer, a professional, there's tension, giving a speech, trying to win the client, the product launch. You can have a lot of tension and high emotion, but you have a formula for getting there. You have an idea of what you're doing. So we have tension and anxiety and nervousness and high emotions in our relationships, but why is it that we lack a game plan? I mean, it's crazy to me. So absolutely. I think merging these two things would be wonderful.
That's a brilliant point. I'm just going to invite the both of you, and I'll also share my thoughts just in the literally last couple of minutes to share if there were one thing, obviously Susan, one nugget that you would share with us, and from your point of view, Sandra, one thing that you've gotten out of the show, and I'll do that for me. Just before I do that, and Laura, you've been so good, you've just thrown in something else. I won't read you all of the comments, but Laura's been very, very generous in terms of her appreciation of all of us, particularly yourself, Susan, where she says that, I won't put it on the screen, but your idea of thinking about a relationship as a startup gave me an aha moment. And she thanks you for that, which is absolutely superb. And again, Laura, thank you for your generous comments about the three of us. What also made me laugh with Laura is she's just off to write her relationship mission statement now. So you have a new fan, which is absolutely
I love it. I love it.
And Kev's just come in. Bless him, Kev. Kev, yeah, indeed.
I know this man. He's wonderful. Okay.
Ah, well, Kevin, apparently you're wonderful.
You got the tail end of it. This is great. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
And we thank you too. Great analogies, very interesting dialogue today. So, Kev, thank you so much for that.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Brilliant. So in the last couple of minutes, and then I'll also invite you to share how people can connect with you, Susan. Sandra, what would be the big take-home message for you out of everything that we've discussed today?
Oh, you took away my oomph and my power, because I thought what Laura said at the end of her comments was definitely the biggest takeaway, and that was to go and write her mission statement before she gathered any more cats. But think about it.
I love that.
I mean, it's great, but think about it. If all of us in any relationship would write a mission statement together, what difference would that make? And I'm sure people have other terms that they might think of, whatever, but certainly for successful professionals, that means a lot. The word, mission statement, we grow up with that. That's what we live on. So if we did that in our relationships and revised it as necessary, wow, wouldn't that just really change a lot of things? I think it's brilliant. I love it, Susan. I think it's great.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo that. I perfectly put. And talk about stealing thunder. It's the thunder's being stolen progressively as we go down. So Laura did it to you. You just done it to me. But my thinking really is very much around the fact that, like so many massively important things in our lives, sometimes when we get caught up in the emotion, we kind of give control away, and we think some of what's happening is being done to us, and that's when we become victims, or even worse, we go the other way and we overcompensate with negative behavior and aggression or self-esteem issues, whatever it may be. And what you've done for me, Susan, so well, and you've done it with your normal wit and humor as well, which is brilliant, is you just reminded me that there is control. It's not something that's being done to me, but something that I can take a deep breath, relax my shoulders, and just take a little bit of time and evaluate where I want to go. And I think that's a tremendous gift for all of us. So on behalf of everybody, I thank you for that. And Susan, one little sound bite from you. So if there were one thing you wanted to leave us with, what would that be?
You're a lot smarter than you know.
Nice. That's nice. And
that means in love as well.
That's absolutely lovely, and that's beautifully put, and thank you so much. So Susan, many people are going to want to connect with you, and we know that you're on Google+.
There's a tour bus downstairs. I'm part of the whole New York City Sex and the City tour. It's wonderful.
We knew that.
Yeah, Susan Winter lives here. This is her new apartment.
Yeah, we knew that, and we'll put a link, and we'll also, Susan's committed to actually filming footage every day from the tour bus, just to share her progress as the tour grows from strength to strength. In addition to which, and Susan, it wouldn't surprise me if that were true, to be honest. You're so magnificent. Oh, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be cool? I almost feel dull now to go back to that. And what's your website, Susan? Because that sounds ever so boring.
SusanWinter.net, N-E-T. And I'll be launching a new website at the end of August. Different look, different tone. Same great material, just easier to see. The thing that happens when you write hundreds upon hundreds of articles, how do you store them and not overload the person? So we've been working on a new website, clean, fresh, I love it. And I have a 3-city tour. I'm doing a lot of nice speaking tours. I have a 3-city tour coming up in Florida in early September, so that's wonderful. And I love, love, love the people that have come into my life, my colleagues that visit me in New York.
Right.
Please, please, if you're here, my colleagues, give me a call. You know, I love the connections I'm able to make as I'm back here for this segment of the year. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. And so Susan Winter, www.susanwinter.net. I've been on the site. It's absolutely fantastic as it is, but what's even better is Susan's refreshing it, and believe you me, looking at it as I've done, there are so many resources, so many articles, so many really, really good bits of information. So Susan, if you're refreshing that and making it even more accessible, that's going to be absolutely magnificent. People can clearly connect with you on Google+, although I know you're using other platforms as well. I believe you're on Twitter, which is how we connected, isn't it, Susan?
Right, and that's Susan_E_Winter. That's too hard to figure out. You know what? You can find all those from my my website.
Nicely
you can
done.
find any of the other ones, including my Facebook page. I say hello to all of the people that like me. You know, I like you too. I say hello to all of them back. So, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I forgive me. I was so excited then because that's how we met, and I can tell you, Susan did say hello, so that was all good. But yeah, easy to reach you through the website. I think that's the best bet. Susan, you've been absolutely adorable, absolutely magnificent, and amazing in terms of your content. We love seeing you. The audience loves seeing you. Thanks to the audience as well. Sandra, as always, I scrabble for the questions, ask them in 17 minutes, and you always hit the mark very precisely, and you come up with some brilliant questions, so I thank you for that as well. I've really enjoyed the show. Thank you once again, Susan, and look forward to seeing everybody on the next Successfully Social. Thank you very much, guys. Bye for now.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.